I mean, you got to give credit to Boston for the resilience, bouncing back. And Al Horford, you say he turned back the clock. I've never seen Al Horford be that aggressive throughout the entire game. Like that was a new side of Horford.
Great night for you because your Celtics came back storming in the fourth quarter after it looked pretty bleak in the third quarter. So let's start with that one. Giannis, I thought, was pulling off a NBA Finals, just taking over the game. No one can guard me. No one can stay in front of me. Like, we were on our way to maybe an epic performance and kind of got control of that game in the third quarter. And there was a moment in the third quarter where I tweeted out, I could watch these teams play 20 times in a row. This is such a great series, and it's physical, and it feels like every play matters. The home crowds are great. And for the Celtics to rally as they did in that fourth quarter, and Al Horford to turn back the clock and have his greatest playoff performance ever was, I got to be honest with you, watching that, absolutely astonishing. What were you thinking as that game was played out?
I mean, at one point in the middle of the third quarter, I thought the Bucks were about to blow the game open.
Yeah.
That's just the way it felt. Like it just seemed like there was like some momentum pushing towards that. And Boston showed a lot of resilience in that game, man. And I think from the Milwaukee side of things, they did a lot of right things. The empty side pick and roll was working a lot. They didn't go back to it a lot. They weren't hunting Peyton Pritchard in the fourth quarter all too often. Meanwhile, for Boston, they're just exploiting the Brook Lopez drop coverage over and over again with pick and pops by Al Horford, hitting threes, Tatum playmaking, Horford attacking those closeouts, making plays off the bounce. I mean, you got to give credit to Boston for the resilience, bouncing back. And Al Horford, you say he turned back the clock. I've never seen Al Horford be that aggressive throughout the entire game. Like that was a new side of Horford after Giannis dunked on him, gave him the mean mug, or Horford woke up. He woke up. He got mad. We've never seen this side of Al Horford, Chris.
When I said turn back the clock, I meant Florida days.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy. The guy wasn't even playing basketball in Oklahoma City.
I know.
Right? And you go back and you look at that acquisition, and it turns out sometimes we can look back at things, and that just becomes an essential acquisition that ended up being so much more significant than it seemed at the time. Certainly, getting off the Kemba Walker contract and acquiring Al Horford was a move that was praised on the surface anyway, right? That they needed some veteran leadership. They had missed that. He had a relationship with those guys. Boston really liked this guy. But, post Boston, he did not look like himself after he left Boston the first time. And then, of course, as we mentioned, he wasn't even playing. And then you get to that fourth quarter last night, and this is the second time we have spoken about a team that shot over 80% in a fourth quarter in the playoffs. We talked about it when Phoenix did it. Last night, just for point of reference, Tatum, 5 of 6. Horford, 6 of 6. Marcus Smart, 4 of 5. Derek White, 1 of 1. Peyton Pritchard, 0 for 1. It added up for 16 of 19 from the field, 84%, 4 for 5 from 3, 80% from 3. I mean, that is ridiculous. Ridiculous in a monster game on the road in the playoffs. And as I said, we talked about it with Phoenix doing it. We've now seen 2 teams shoot over 80% in monster games. Crazy.
It's nutty. It's nutty. And if you're Milwaukee now, you're tied 2-2 in the series. Mention Al Horford attacking that, drop coverage by the
Oh,
Bucks. That was really the basis of where the Celtics got a lot of those points you're talking about. Horford, the Celtics scored 41 points on 28 screens set by Horford last night that led to a shot, a foul, or a turnover. That's a unbelievable 1.4 points per Horford screen. I wonder if in Game 5, how do the Bucks adjust here? Because what they've been doing has been more effective on Tatum. At least the first 6 quarters in Milwaukee. Tatum had a great fourth quarter, but if the Bucks, if they play higher in the pick and roll with Brook Lopez, there's risk, guys are driving past him. If they switch with Lopez, that heightens that risk. If they take Lopez off the floor and play with more versatility, like with more Giannis, Bobby Portis front courts, which are a plus 20 in net rating over 50 minutes in the series. If they do more of that, maybe you have more versatility. You can do more switching. I wonder if that's what we see. But if you take Lopez off the floor, he had, some great offensive moments with his size near the rim. And
he did, we've seen this.
Tough.
We've seen this, though. This is the argument we get into about Gobert
every
year. Yeah. If you're good. And by the way, they almost, last year when they were playing Atlanta, it was exposed and it became an issue at some point. And you have seen teams be able to give them problems in the past with this. And the fact that Budenholzer stuck with that last night, it was just crazy to me. It really felt very reminiscent of what we've seen from Dallas, what we've seen from the Clippers, what we've seen, those teams that played against Utah the last couple of years. And the fact that when it got down to the end, they would space out the floor, they'd go 5 wide, and it just tortures you. If you're going to have a center that is not going to come 30 feet away from the basket, now you got real problems on your hand. And if Horford's going to be knocking down threes, you got real problem on your hands. And so I do think, it cost them greatly. And we've seen it in the past. Again, these can be very effective for sure on defense. But when you get to the playoffs, the better teams are able to go small and expose it. And we've seen it happen. And it's not, and the thing that is more frustrating about Milwaukee to me than Utah is, as you mentioned, they are equipped to deal with it. Utah had no great answer. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the things that at the very beginning of the season I criticized. What are you going to do when you have to be able to go small? When your defense, as you want to play it, cannot be effective. And the fact that they have the pieces to be able to, but stuck with that and then gave up an 80% from the field quarter in a game that, you were in control of and could have, for all intents and purposes, probably ended the series. Because your lead is just so commanding and you put yourself in a position where you'd have to lose 3 straight and you figure Giannis is going to just dominate completely for one of those games. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's, to me, with Utah, I was always at least able to listen to, what do you want them to do? They don't have some kind of great guy to put at that other position if you're going to take Gobert out of the game. But Milwaukee does. And
I mean, to be fair, though, I think with the Bucks, not having Chris Middleton, it hurts you offensively, as we've talked about all series, but also defensively not having his size in the wing position. So, like, you start the series, big with Giannis, Portis, and Lopez, and then you trim down to 2 bigs with Giannis and Lopez or Giannis and Portis. I don't think Giannis at the 5 is as much of a solution to go to even more frequently because, like, you don't have Chris Middleton. You lost PJ Tucker. You're feeling that when it comes to wanting to go with Giannis at the 5. So for the Bucks here, you're probably continuing more with two bigs. Maybe you do more Giannis Portis to have more versatility rather than the drop with Lopez. But I wonder like how much of this has to do with balance on offense. You have Giannis taking 32 shots in last night's game. His career high is 36. I'd like to see Giannis hit 40. And I know that might sound outrageous, but why is it outrageous to ask that of a guy who's going to go down as a top 10, 15, maybe even higher, top 5 player in the history of basketball? Is that really outrageous to ask for? I don't think it is. I'd rather have Giannis taking 40 shots in the game in a must-win game without Chris Middleton than Drew Holiday taking 20, because with Drew Holiday, we're seeing the limitations of his shot creation. He, like, numbers-wise, excellent efficiency in isolations and pick and rolls for, multiple years running now, but it's a hell of a lot different when you're going against Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Derek White, than it is, in the matchups you're getting over the course of the regular season. We're seeing that the amount of depth the Celtics defense has where they can lose Smart. Well, they plug in White more. They can lose Robert Williams. They get Daniel Tice to get some minutes off the bench and have plenty of other great defensive pieces. Boston's depth is just crazy on defense, and that's making things hard on Holiday. But I want to see Giannis hit 40 at least one time the rest of this series. 40 shots.
I think what I'd like to see is for them to play guys that it would be natural to throw it to and might be able to get you. I don't understand the George Hill thing at all. I don't get it. It's for what?
You want to see more Javon Carter then?
You could have. They didn't bring in Grayson Allen until whatever.
Yeah, Grayson Allen's getting attacked on defense.
I understand, but you got 8 minutes of nothing out of George Hill in the fourth quarter, like nothing, literally nothing.
Well, this speaks to the Middleton absence, though, Chris.
Of course it does.
You have Budenholzer reaching for answers here. He's trying to figure out where do we find that help on the wing.
Right, and whether it's Connaughton, whether it's Grayson Allen, I gotta have another guy that can hit a shot. That at least when Giannis is getting, double and triple teamed, somebody I can throw it out to that could get me a bucket. Now, of course, Holiday in that massive fourth quarter, he's 0 for 5 in the quarter. Clearly, Giannis and Holiday.
Smart bottled them up.
Yeah, Giannis and Holiday both have to be good. End of story. Right?
Or Holiday picks his spots more and they feed Giannis even more. I'm telling you, 40 shots. That should be the target for Giannis.
What did he end up last night with?
32. And he had 30 in game 3, 27 in game 2, 25 in game 1. So it went up every game. I'm telling you, 40 shots. That should be the target for Giannis.
Well, how many free throws did he have?
He had 11 in last night's games, 12 in game 3. 9 in game 2, 11 in game 1.
Because obviously those count as the ball was going to him. It is a possession that he used, and so you are. You're not far off.
No, not far off.
You're getting that. You're about getting that number, Kevin.
But like in the series, it's Holiday in each of the 4 games. Holiday is 8 of 20, 7 of 20, 11 of 30, 5 of 22, and he's going against a tough defender, no matter who it is. And I'm just saying, have Holiday take less shots and force more towards Giannis. He is obviously by far your best player. He's the best player in the world. Giannis is capable of taking 40 shots. He's going to have the rest of the series some historic nights for Milwaukee to win the series.